Hello YouTube. I'm going to do something a little different this time. I'm going to actually analyze some bullet games. Now, normally I wouldn't suggest to do this, but I think we can learn about our chess instincts by analyzing fast games. And if you're going to play them, you may as well analyze. So I'm going to look at 4 games I played. Well, 3 games in one fragment. Here we have a French defense, winner. This is kind of cop-out, but I don't really feel like learning all these winner lines, so just going for a kind of equalish position. This move I'm not familiar with. And then queen takes also strikes me as kind of strange. I mean, I'm giving you the opportunity to play e takes d and get your problem child's French bishop out, but just develop normally and stop black from castling at least immediately. And here's the first opportunity I missed. And as a c3 Sicilian player, this comes up in some c3s. So I should really be aware of this. The idea is I can just take this now. Okay, I have tripled pawns, but I do have an extra pawn. And if knight takes, so this was my first mistake of the game. And hopefully next time I play, even with very little time, I will notice an idea like this. Instead I just played casually, castling. b3. Moved my knight out of the way to put my bishop on this nice diagonal. So far so good, besides the one move I missed. Now I'm getting more time on his queen. I take this pawn now, so I can make his king move, and white has a great position. So let's see what happens now. Already, maybe this would have been stronger, getting my rooks in behind. I just developed, maybe with some eye to sacrifice here later, who knows, just or to lift my rook. My opponent plays bishop a6, and here I drop my knight back. I should play queen d4 now. I was just afraid of stuff like this, but I just have to notice that there's no way he can put more pressure on this knight with the minor piece. Well, there is. Actually, there's 2 ways to do it. One is my computer froze? Oh, this is goddamn annoying. I'm sorry, guys. Before I make my next video, I'm going to speed this up. I'm going to pause for a moment. Alright, this is my mistake, actually. Excuse me, let me full screen this again. It's white to move, so that's why I can't make a move for black. But anyway, let's just make a different move instead of retreating the knight. If I play here, and he does play rook here, and say I put more pressure on the d-file, there's really no way he can put pressure on this knight with a minor piece, for instance. This, I can just take it, because remember I'm also hitting his queen. And if he moves this knight to add more pressure, this way, he's walking into discovered check. So, yeah, I'm offering this video, but unfortunately, I'm not sure if I have any solutions to offer. Maybe by the end of the video I'll come up with some solutions to be able to judge the safety of moves, and I think that's really important, especially in blitz. Really strong players, they just have an instinct about what risks they're able to take and accurately assess them, whereas weaker players either play overly cautious or overly risky. In my case, it's often overly cautious, and that cost me a lot of blitz games, including this one. So instead of moving my queen up aggressively, I back my knight off timidly. I mean, to be fair, I am putting pressure here and here, but I'm allowing him to trade pieces, and the more he trades in this terrible position with this king cutting off his other rook, the worse I am, and that indeed is what happens. He trades one set of minor pieces, he attacks my queen, I skedaddle to f3. Now he plays g6, which is a really bad move. And this I should have been able to see quickly. I did play queen f6, but after rook g8, I'm not sure what the idea is. He's not going to get away with this king. I do play rook 81, challenging the file, and after he vacates, bishop c1 is just really crushing. He can move his rook away. Oh, not even check here. Just adding more pressure. And let's take this line a little farther. I suppose the idea here is to block here. So I try to distract him. After a4, bishop b7, trying to distract the queen. Bishop to d5, huh? Well, I can't fault myself too much for missing a sequence like this. Even with time to think, I'm not quite sure. Oh, this is very cute actually, yeah. Here's the idea. And mate next move. So, you might think, well, in a bullet game, maybe even in a slow game, I'm not going to see this whole variation. But even so, this has got to be a strong move also. And yeah, white should have no problems here. But I missed bishop c1. In a slow game, I'm sure I would have seen it. I played bishop f3 lamely, just getting my bishop out of the way. But now it comes in like this. Again, with more time, I'm sure I would have traded queens. But yeah, one of my main problems, as anyone who knows me in person will tell you, is when I get in time pressure, I kind of get into panic mode. And in Blitz, the whole game is in time pressure. And it also depends a lot on my state. When I'm playing for ego, like for instance, now my rating is really low by my standards, and it makes me angry, and when I'm angry, I just want to crush, and I want to get my rating back up, but I also want to be careful and not take risks. So, yeah, chess is very psychologically interesting. So, what's true for me might not be true for you, but you should try to learn your kind of chess psychological profile. Although, as Fisher said, I don't believe in psychology, I believe in good moves. And the main thing is just to find better moves and not overthink psychological factors and beat yourself up, but just try to learn. So that's what I'm doing, analyzing with the computer. And I'm also aware the point of the computer is not to think you're going to be able to see this crazy lines like this, but looking at them is helpful because you see the ideas and you see how the computer is really good at keeping the pressure, avoiding unnecessary piece trades, and building an attack. So anyway, trading queens was not the answer. And now I further trade rooks. I mean, if you look at this position versus this one, just a few moves, and I've thrown away 100% of my advantage. And after rook d1 and rook c7, I lost on time. So yeah, what's to be learned? Just be aggressive. If your position is good, you can afford to be aggressive. You might have to find some tactics. But even if I didn't find the computer lines, I should see that his knights are both tied up. I can come in with queen d4, bring the other rook over, and I definitely should have seen bishop c1 into either of these squares with a winning advantage. So let's move on to the next game. So another bullet game I played with some instructive moments. So this is the check defense. I actually messed around with this a little myself because white doesn't really know it very well. Here I should play rook b1, but I played b3. He breaks in the center. Come back. Setting up a discovery on his queen. He attacks my bishop. Engine recommends just retreating here. Okay, he's made me waste a move, but this is not a particularly useful move either. So I can afford to waste it. And then maybe even fianchetto later, take advantage of the little fianchetto nest I've created. But instead I say, okay, I'm willing, position's kind of closed, I'm willing to give up the bishop here. Play bishop e2, he castles, I castle, he takes, and again, one of my weaknesses, especially in low time, tend to like exchanges, but taking with the knight is better, and that's what I should have done it. I played queen takes, and now, especially in blitz or bullet, I have stuff to think about. So I traded pieces to have less to think about, but now I have more to think about along this diagonal. But I defended. Plays a6. I guess his idea is he wants to be able to play c5 and not allow my knight to come to this good square. So he plays a6. Rook up is not the best move. So, interesting. He didn't said this was good for a moment. No, I must have. Yeah, I was wondering how that could possibly be good. It says bishop g4 makes a lot of sense to vacate this square for one of my knights. I played rook d3, which is a pretty awkward move. And yeah, this is a less awkward move, so try to avoid awkward moves. He attacks my rook. I slide back a notch. He attacks my pawn, and I played f3 instantly. Should have played here. I realized it in the game too. I didn't need the engine to tell me f3. Putting all my pawns on light squares is just dumb, and he can't add a third attacker. So yeah, bishop f3. I mean, I want to vacate this square anyway. So f3 is really a huge blunder, huger than even the computer will give credit for. So now he tries a tactic, but this shouldn't have worked out for him. The idea is he's winning a pawn, and then he's going to win my piece. So I take back with the c pawn, and he plays to c5. And here, I had a cute tactic here. I played knight d5, which is okay, but better would have been knight b to d5. This is, knight d to b5. Although the other knight would have been okay too. The idea is, if he takes my bishop, I'm just taking back. And remember, he's given up a piece, so now I'm a piece up. And if he takes this one, remember, he's given up a piece. So now I have equal material. I have this nice square, and I'm attacking this twice. So I'm going to get an extra pawn. Instead, I play knight d5. He takes, and here's where I think the most interesting point of the game was. And again, in the longer game, I'm sure I would have seen this, even maybe a 5-minute game, but just rook takes bishop, pawn takes, and forking the rooks. And it's about equal. This pawn move was stupid, but I'm getting my exchange back, and black has these weaknesses. So instead, king h1 was, I would call the game-losing move. Now I don't have to fork anymore, and yeah, the rest of the game, I mean, I shouldn't necessarily lose this, but objectively it is probably losing. He's got these 3 pawns. I highlighted this square to indicate b4 is coming. His bishop is much better than my bishop, and should be losing for white, and it was losing. So it's a bullet game, and I shouldn't beat myself up too much for playing so badly, but if I'm going to get angry, I should try to learn something. So that's my aim. I'll just jump into the next game without pausing. Get rid of that. That's Flux, by the way. Highly recommends it. It makes your screen colors have less blue light, so you can sleep better. For phones, you could get Twilight. For Androids, at least, I don't know about iPhones. Of course, I'm still awake at 4 in the morning, but who knows, probably be worse if I was looking at a really bright screen. Anyway, here's the third and final game, and the last one will be a fragment. 2 knights defense against the Carl Khan. And this is actually considered Black's refutation, if you will, of the system. He gives it the 2 bishops, but it's a closed position. He has all his pawns on light squares. He's ready to develop. And yeah, Black tends to have a good game here. White can play a number of different ways. He can play d4, although he has to be willing to sacrifice a pawn. I guess I could take with the queen, allow myself to get hit with knight f6. There's also this line, which you have to sometimes be willing to sacrifice 2 pawns, I think, or you could play c3. But I'm not going to look into that. I just played g3. You could also play d3, maybe a little better, seeing as you already opened this window for the bishop. Why open a second window? But I don't know why I play this. I think I won a tournament game like this, and maybe overvalue it because of that. Probably I shouldn't do this because I'm giving away the center. And it says queen f4. Why didn't I just castle? What was I afraid of? Was I afraid of something in particular? Oh yeah, I'm losing this pawn if I do that. Huh. Bishop takes knight, e takes d5. Oh, now it doesn't like that anymore. Yeah, it's not worth it at all. So, yeah, my options are either to take or d3. Although the engine, of course, fearlessly ventures forth with the queen. Wait a minute, didn't you just say queen f4? Why are you saying it's bad now? This is really strange. The engine can't make up his mind. Huh. Really weird. The engine just said this was totally winning for Black for a moment. I just have to get a faster computer. And if he just goes back... Oh, if he goes back, then I've won a tempo. So, okay, queen f4. Instead, I give it the center and castled. Knight c6. And you hit the bishop. The bishop retreats. Rook e1. And he comes in with his knight. Another interesting moment. Engine briefly recommends this move with a cute idea that if he comes in like this, bishop queen a4. So I've never seen an idea like this, but now I'll at least consider it. So, and now hopefully you will too. Obviously it's not so simple. Black probably is not going to take even a 1800 in a bullet game. Might hesitate on that. Wondering what's up with this strange move. Engine gives. I'll just show the engine line. Knight takes. I mean, this is interesting. This is crazy computer moves. But now, after that, I throw a knight f3, and if he takes, I have the same tactic. So king f8, knight h5. Knight looks pretty loose over there. But if g6, wow, knight e6. And rook b1. Yeah, computers are amazing, but you don't have to see all this whole line to at least have this type of move on your radar. So it's interesting. Instead, I played the natural move, queen d1. Queen d3 would have been more aggressive, attacking this guy right away, either forcing him to move, pretty much forcing him to move. Again, this didn't come on my radar because in bullet I'm just thinking, we've got to get my other bishop out, and just naturally retreating if c2 is attacked. But it's just good to have new ideas to think about. So I didn't play this way. I went back. Not the end of the world, but he just does get annoying pressure. Now this knight is pinned to the c-pawn, and so I just played d3, castled, bishop e3, trying to get rid of this knight. But something's gone wrong because now I'm willing to give up my bishop pair. to get a playable position. And computer says it's equal, but I really don't like these center pawns for black. There's pressure down the c file for black. I'm not as comfortable here. Now here he goes ahead and plays this way in order to win his pawn back like this, but I don't think this is right. For one, I grab this pawn and come back. It takes on e3, but this is kind of annoying having this isolated pawn. But if I take this way, this kingside structure is not pretty. So I took with a rook, and here I should probably already take here, giving him an isolated pawn. I ended up doing that a move later. And again, this is the more passive move. Engine recommends queen b3. So far it looks okay. We both have isolated pawns. Far from the two bishops. Now I have a knight first bishop, but Engine still says slight advantage for me. You could say, excuse me, my two rooks are better placed than his. But quickly I managed to screw this up. This is a moment here where I had a long think, too long for bullet. We weren't playing, this wasn't a 1-0 bullet, it was 2 minutes with 1 second increment. But I must have thought for 20-30 seconds here. And I played queen d3, which is a computer recommendation actually. But after rook c4, I have to be able to see some tactical stuff here. I'll just show the line and then we'll talk about it. So knight takes pawn. The idea is if queen takes, he has back rank issues. But of course he can take here. And now, actually this is not that hard to see. In maybe a 5-minute game, if I had at least a couple of minutes left, I might have seen this. But we're sacking a rook to win back a rook. And I'm surprised that Engine rates this highly, but I am up a pawn, and the queen nicely defends me, and his king is more open. So that would have been a pretty cool line. So this is a frustrating thing about playing fast games for me, is sometimes I do see the good moves. A lot of times I'm playing passively and getting into situations like this in the first place, which is not good, but yeah, knight d5 takes d5 would have been a nice move. But it's good to see the tactic, even if I didn't see it in the game. I retreat. Retreat. Maybe this is an okay move. Getting a somewhat active square. Oh, wait, what am I talking about? I'm dropping the pawn here. But the only way to defend it would have been to see that tactic, which I didn't see. So psychologically, this is very bad. And now I just start making total junk moves. And this is one of my problems when I lose my nerve, when I lose my confidence, I start making terribly weak moves like this. Another very weak move. Why am I trading queens? I'm one pawn down. And he doesn't even take. And I'm just groveling around here, making my king weaker. I try this cute trick, and he comes here, eyeing up this square. I could have played rook d1, but instead I lost on time. Probably I would have made this move. I mean, I was actually had my hand on the piece. I was about to drop it here, and then I lost on time. So, yeah, you can see this went downhill very quickly. And if I would have found this cute tactic, then I'm winning. Sorry, I'll do that a little bit slower, so you don't have to rewind a bunch of times. I know it always annoys me when chess lecturers go over positional nuances and talk at length on and on about them, and then when it comes time to show the tactics, they gun through them. So yeah, let's do it on our heads. Knight takes the d pawn. Rook takes d4. Rook e8. That's the exclam move, I would say. Rook takes rook. Rook takes rook is forced because the square. Rook takes rook. Rook takes rook. Queen takes rook, and then bishop, which is here, takes, knight, which is on d5, takes the bishop. With check, he has to take back, and then we take the rook. And with the final position, we have all the major and minor pieces gone except for queens. My queen is on d5, this is on e8, and the g pawn is here. So it's good to practice your visualization with tactics, even if you're doing chess tempo or Lichess tactics. Even if you get the problem right, especially if it's a very long and complicated one that you weren't quite sure of the whole variation from the get-go, it's good to go back to the beginning of the problem and then do it all in your head without moving the pieces. It's just good exercise, in my opinion. And hopefully my opinion will be worth more when I get my ratings up, which is my goal, and my goal for you too. So I hope you enjoyed. Oh, I do hope you enjoyed, but we still have one more fragment to look at. I'm whiting all 4 of these games. So here we go. This is a game where you might wonder. This is a position in which this pawn's being attacked, and you might think, I forgot what the engine thinks is the best move. Probably just rook e3. I don't see anything else. Oh no, knight d2. Let's see, knight takes 2, pawn takes. Huh, just going for development. And it says equal, even though black has this nice pawn. But I guess the rook is kind of short on squares. Assume I'm going to take here and give him a Isolani, which is no longer a passed pawn. And I guess worst case I can go knight here and win one of the pawns back. Now, if I don't see all that and I have to go rook d3, is this that bad? Oh, yeah, it is that bad. So knight d2 is a tricky move to find, so you can kind of forgive me for missing it. Which, again, this is a reason why not to play bullet or blitz until you're at least master strength. Because, yeah, very few people with like 30 seconds left are going to find knight d2. So I played g3, which seems natural, but let's see how the game continued. C takes d, and here I can still save myself from the worst. I'm attacking his rook, so you might say that g3 was not the terrible move, but taking his rook was the terrible move. Yeah, I can still play this, and yeah, this is actually not that bad. I'm getting my pawn back. Slightly better for black, but instead I play g takes f4. I take back, I fix my pawns, but even better would have been, oh, that's what he played. Yeah, I think this was just time pressure. I don't know why I wouldn't just defend this. But, so this is not super instructive because I just blundered here. But even after this, I didn't play here, I thought, because, well, I'm losing the pawn anyway. So let me just get out of the way so I can get developed. But here's the problem. Development matters even in the endgame. And it is really hard for me to get my pieces out. I should have just played knight a3 here, of course. So I'm making a lot of blunders. But all of a sudden, his bishop is getting in here, and I'm losing another pawn, playing a4, which engine says is the best move, which just shows how bad the position is. And yeah, this is just a nightmare. Terrible position, and I ended up losing. So just to go back again to my original blunder, yeah, g3 was a mistake. And again, this was in a bullet game. I'm learning from a bullet game, but learn from my mistakes, and probably you shouldn't play bullet. Maybe once in a while, just for kicks, just to let some steam off. But definitely don't play 140 games in a row for 6 to 8 hours. And probably don't plan it at all, or give yourself maybe a chess cheat day. So knight d2 would have been the move. After takes, takes, rook takes. Oh wait, we're supposed to do this in our heads. That's right. So candidate moves are g3, rook to d3. We can see after rook d3, pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn. Can you please play rook takes pawn and rook takes pawn in here? I think that's it. Pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, rook to d3. Excuse me. Start over. Rook d3. It's his move. He takes. We take. I think he can just take with the rook, sacking the rook temporarily. Yeah, because our rooks can't defend each other at all. So after g3, pawn takes. Excuse me. After g3, pawn takes. Taking his rook is bad because after here and takes, even though we are defending our pawn, no one can come and protect this guy, and he can pile up on it twice and win it because of our bad development. So knight d2, pawn takes, rook takes, knight f3. All of a sudden this knight has gotten very useful for the cost of a pawn. He has very few amount of squares. I suppose he could go to b4, but then, sorry, I'm a little distracted. My friend's actually watching YouTube, and my roommate's watching YouTube in the other room. Let's see, our knight is here. His pawn is here. Looks less clear. Yeah, this is hard. This is hard to see in my head at 4:30 in the morning. Oh, that's right. He doesn't have a pawn there. We took his pawn. This is his extra pawn. And after this, 95 check. I would not think that that was a good move. What about just here? That's good. Chess is a deep game, but try to learn from my blunders, even if I can't explain everything perfectly. It's deep, and ultimately, you got to look at all this stuff on your own and play tons and tons of games and just learn to assess positions. But let me not leave you with an unanswered question. Knight takes. Probably I could see most people taking back. And why is this so much better? Oh, because we're taking over the file. And even though this pawn is passed, we have compensation because we're probably coming in here and munching these guys. So that's the answer to that question. Yeah, I would recommend to yourself, don't leave unanswered questions either. I mean, you can't answer them all, but that's a good answer to why this is good. We have 2 threats. Let's take this and double. So anyway, feel free to ask more questions in the comments, start chats there, and I hope you enjoyed these games and this video. Thanks for watching.